Uh-oh, here comes Titan-sized trouble. Here's your look at the Diamond Select Titanium Man Collector's Action Figure with accessories. Numerous villains have made up Iron Man's gallery of enemies, with many of them similarly armor-based in order to counter Iron Man's abilities. The Russians have created both the Crimson Dynamo and Titanium Man to try to stop the threat posed by Iron Man, and they have fought Stark through numerous iterations. This collector's edition action figure of the Titanium Man is based on his appearance in the classic Marvel comics. It features 16 points of articulation and an interchangeable head and hands, designed by Yuri Ming, sculpted by Gentle Giant Studios. Now, before we go checking out Titanium Man, let me thank the folks first over at Diamond Select. They did provide this sample of the Marvel Select Titanium Man that we could have a look at in this video. I don't know why I went for such a dramatic pause. Let's move our focus now over just to finding out how tall Titanium Man is. And to do that, I'm going to grab my tape measure here. First, in inches, Titanium Man stands at an impressive, well, he's almost 9 inches in height. I mean, that's where 9 inches is there. Can you see where I'm waving it? His head comes just a little less than that. Just comes up a little short than 9 inches. But he's almost about 9 inches. Maybe we're going to stick with that. And the figure's about, oh, geez, he was about maybe 22 and a half centimeters tall. That's a pretty big looking figure. For the figure's accessories, Titanium Man comes included with a pair of swappable hands, as well as a swappable head sculpt, which we'll do a little bit later. First, though, let's have a look at the hands. I'm going to grab those first. Nice big mauling size, oven mitt sized hands. Still has the familiar emerald green color, which will be pretty consistent, really, when we're having a look at the rest of the figure here. It's a lot of green going on here. Why am I using the gestured hands to describe that? But as it goes for certainly hands, the hands are nicely sculpted. You can see the interlinking limbs, individual linking fingers. Very cool looking hands, though. And to swap these out, pretty easy. I mean, right now he has punching fists. If you're all for punching fists, then stick with punching fists. But I kind of like to maul my heroes from time to time, especially if I have these guys on display with them. We're going to pop one of the hands off and replace it with the other hand. Just pop that in place. Yeah, we'll do it the exact same on the other side, too. Why not? Commit to the project, I say. Move this off. Just take the hands and wiggle it back off. By the way, just to show you how small these pegs are, the few couple of times that I've done this already, a little bit of paint has flaked off onto my hand, but at least it's only on the peg. I'd feel worse if it was actually on the figure itself. Pop that back into place. And putting the figure back down. Yeah, that looks a lot nicer. Good, big, mauling hands. The other thing the figure also comes included with, too, is a swappable head sculpt, which we won't change out just yet, because we certainly want to focus a little bit of attention first on the defaulted human face that he has right now. I really like this head sculpt, though. The helmet is always usually the way I'm going to be going when it comes to figures like this. You see the hollow cavity on the inside. That's going to be supporting the ball peg here in a moment. But again, a lot of green. I mean, just again, when really the benefit of having the unmasked head for right now is at least it brings a little bit of extra color to the table. Really, when you now added then this head, short of the plate on the front being black and short of the little sparklers he has for eyes in his mouth, everything else is basically just all green on Titanium Man, except for the under treads of his boots. I'm still going to go with this nonetheless. Quickly looking, though, at the head sculpt, even though I am going to be putting it on in a moment. What I do like, though, is that the eyes don't seem like they've been actually... No, they're not painted on, but the mouth has been carved in, as opposed to just painting in place. I guess they could have technically just painted it, but they went the extra mile and actually carved it in there. This almost looks for a second like it's a sticker, but I think it's just the way it's been painted on the front of Titanium Man's head sculpt. Like I said, we're going to get to that in a moment. Putting his arms down because I feel like I'm somewhat intimidated by it. Let's pick up the figure right now and getting a closer look at him. What I like about these figures, you don't always need to have the streamlined figures. And every so often, especially in the early days of Diamond doing the Marvel Select stuff, you would get these big, clunky, chunky figures. And Titanium Man certainly falls within that category. His head sculpt is pretty good. Sort of, for me at least, it looks like a really ticked off kind of Carl Urban. Just a little more angrier than he normally is. Kind of Billy Butcher right there. Just a little bit more of an oversized head sculpt, that's all. I don't know why specifically they had to paint the inside of his eyes red. It almost looks like he's got an infection. You should always really wash your hands after using toilet. You start rubbing your eyes, that's what's going to end up happening. Why are we talking about the toilet? He does have a little bit of that red also around the nostril area. Seems to be inflaming. He's got it also right above his lip, and he's also got it down the side of his mouth too. He's like in this section, this area right here, Titanium Man seems to have a lot of infection. He needs to get medication right away. Washing your hands is always crucial. My head sculpt is really good on this one. I like both the beard and the sculpted hair that they've done. The hair is actually less dark black and actually more dark gray. You can see the way they've sculpted the strands of the hair is really nicely handled here. Even though I do like this head sculpt, red eyes and all, I think I'm still going to pop the head off and replace it instead with this head sculpt here. To do that, it's pretty easy. You're just going to hold on to this big bag of flour and just going to wiggle and pop the head off the ball joint. And it is quite a ball joint. I mean, you could probably play old Atari games with the size of this joystick. Then we're going to go ahead and pop the new head in place. Just again, popping it quite easily actually is in place. And you've got yourself now Titanium Man ready to battle Iron Man. Again, with big oven mitt-sized hands. Such a cool looking figure. The only disappointing thing about whenever you get figures like this that have swappable heads is you always feel I end up a little bit disappointed when both the head sculpts are good. In this case, I actually like both the head sculpts quite a lot. But for me, I would always really want to display Iron Man's bad guys, always with their helmets on if they come included with them in the first place. As for the rest of the figure, we can go ahead and pick him up right now. Now we've done away with the skin tone. Certainly there is a lot more green happening here. I don't know why also looking at Titanium Man, it reminds me of the Iron Giant. Why? I don't even know the answers to that. Like I said, there's a lot of green going on here. Mostly it's all hard plastic. Periodically you'll come up across like softer plastic pieces, like for example the skirting that he has just below his mid-torso. But all the rest of it is really hard, dense plastic. One thing that was rather interesting, though, about Titanium Man, I draw your attention to this right now. He has a hole on the back of his back, right here. I'm not sure what it's specifically designed for, unless they were going to use this torso at some point for something else that would have required a peg, or if perhaps at some point Titanium Man would have come included with an adjustable neck. Whatever the abandoned idea was, he does have a peg hole at least, on the back of his torso. Now, there is a little bit what seems to be a slightly darker green, but I just think it's more of the way it's been painted. I think there probably could have been an opportunity, yeah, because you got so much dark green happening here from head to toe. The little bit of breakup already mentioned is the faceplate on the helmet, but like all the rest of it is just really a dark green. Maybe they could have also gone in there and just added maybe a wash of darker black. Here we go, talking more even darker colors still, but maybe just a contrasting of what we get here now already with this green. And then maybe a darker coloring to that, maybe around this area here. Like if you move up his arms, for example, you keep thinking you see something in there that's at least been painted differently, but I think it's more so just the way the light's hitting it than anything else. But yeah, if they had gone in there and maybe added a darker wash, maybe just in the armpit area, maybe like right around the torso area here, just again to break up a lot of the same color being used here. He has some decent sculpting. You have all these little raised parts that are on the front of his torso that make up his armor. And then he's got some additional texturing that's also been added to the tops of his shoulders here too. So at least you're not looking at just a smooth canvas all colored in this same green. Again, like he does have a little bit of color, which almost seems jarring now. You get so used to the idea of seeing a darker green that all of a sudden you're like, oh, my eyes just can't adjust. He's got some silver here, nicely done here on the undersoles of his boots. And you also get this additional texturing that isn't found anywhere else on the figure. So it is nice to see that they actually put that in there as well. For the articulation on Titanium Man, sticking with still the same joystick as we did before, the head rotates all the way around. It does look down actually quite a bit, and it looks also up quite a bit as well if he's looking to the skies to see where Iron Man has gone to. You can also rock the head back and forth this way also as well. The upper torso is on a ball joint, so yeah, you can not only rotate it all the way around. I seldom do it, it seems, with ball joints, but I'm going to do it right now. You can also move the torso down a bit, move it up a bit, and yeah, you can also rock it back and forth as well. I thought for a second there was actually a cut right here where this would also serve as a swivel to the joint, a waist joint. It's not the case. It seems like it's actually molded as one piece, and then they put the skirting over top of that. As for the arms, now the arms are really clunky. So, I mean, when to move the arms, first of all, it's really tight. And even then, to move it out, I'm only able to get about a 45-degree angle bend. See? There and there. You can also take those same arms, rotate them all the way around. Figure does have a bicep swivel, Figure does have a hinge, a only single hinge in his elbow, but also allows the forearm to rotate all the way around. Titanium Man and both the now hands I've swapped out do rotate all the way around, and there's also a hinge back and forth there too. When it comes to his legs, luckily the skirting is soft enough that you can bring the legs out. I mean, it's not to the point where, why would you ever want to give him a full Van Damme splits? Technically, they did split the side of the skirting here, so if you did want to do that, you can actually pull it off. But I'm just more content that you actually can at least move his feet back and forth. And yeah, if you did have yourself like a display stand, you can easily just attach the display stand to the underside of his feet and actually have Titanium Man more in a walking pose. There is a slight swivel at the top of the thigh, more so to the way it's been assembled. The figure has a single hinge in the knee that allows the lower leg to rotate back and forth. And Titanium Man not only moves his ankle back and forth this way, but he also has a nice ankle rocker going for him as well. Despite his size, you would almost think for a second that Titanium Man would be a more difficult figure to stand. Even just to bring his arms out, the figure stands perfectly fine. He seems quite rather center balanced. Also, the fact that he has slightly larger boots may also add to the reasoning why the figure doesn't have any difficult time standing. I always think that these figures would look so good with display stands, but a figure of this size anyways, really what would you do with a display stand anyways? I mean, it would have to be about this big too to work with both the legs. If you were just to put it on the one side, then of course it's going to make him slightly off-kiltered. Nice looking figure. I mean, for me at least, I have no qualms about swapping out the fists and putting those away in a baggie, but part of me almost is a little bit disappointed that I'm putting away slightly infected eyes, ticked off Carl Urban, because it's actually a nice looking head sculpt. He's also got Ren in his ears too. This guy needs to get some medical attention right away. Of the two head sculpts, I'm still going to stick with this one right here because it's my favorite of the two. A really, really nice, big, clunky, bulky figure from the folks over at Diamond Select. Diamond Select continues to show over the years just how you release an oversized figure. It doesn't always have to be a build-a-figure. It doesn't always have to be the case where you have to buy 6 to 8 figures, some of which you don't even want in your collection, simply so you can get the missing leg in order to build a character of this size. I mean, really, when you look at the Marvel Select line for the last several years that we've gotten figures from Diamond Select, all the prices have stayed somewhat the same. Of course, inflation will increase the cost of these figures, but you can buy yourself a Cyclops the same time you can buy yourself a Juggernaut, and a lot of times it's the exact same price. The amount of material that they put into these figures, not to mention in a case like Titanium Man, what are the off chances that they're going to be able to use this mold again for another figure? They could probably come out with a battle-damaged version of Titanium Man, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a one and we're done from Diamond Select, and yet they're not increasing the prices of their figures outside of what will normally happen with inflation. Regular sized figures, you can get yourself a Storm, a Cyclops, a Wolverine, and of the same price and of the same sized packaging. You can get characters like Abomination, Juggernaut, one of my personal favorites, and a character like Titanium Man. Take notes, other companies. Like I said, this is how you produce an oversized figure without having to cause the collectors to go out there and buy multiple figures in order to get the job done. You get the job done once. One time is all you need. Go to your local comic book store and pick this guy up right away. A big thank you, though, to the folks over at Diamond Select that did provide this sample of Titanium Man. A big, clunky, chunky bit of plastic. I just absolutely love the look of him. But a big thank you once again to the folks over at Diamond Select that did provide this sample that we could have a look at in this video. Perhaps for your video question, what's been your favorite Marvel Select figure that Diamond Select have put out over the years? And like I said, they put out small, tall, big-sized, small-sized, all generally at the same price. My favorite that they have put out is the Juggernaut. Unrivaled by any other company. That is the best Juggernaut out there, if you ask me. But what is your favorite Marvel Select figure? Let me know down below. Weigh in your thoughts down below in the comment section. And if you are new here, you're enjoying the content that you're seeing, make sure that you're hitting the subscribe button down below. That you're also as well turning on the bell notification, so you're always going to get the reminders every single time a new video is getting posted. And also at the very end of this video, posting will be a playlist of all the other things I've looked at for Diamond Select over the years. If you have a little bit of time, and you also want to check out some of those other mentioned Marvel Select figures, most likely I've reviewed them in earlier videos. So feel free to check that out. Like I said, if you have a little bit of time. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.